Listen, if you've ever dated a guy who thinks he's the main character of the universe, you know exactly the type of person I'm dealing with. The type who thinks the sun doesn't just rise, it auditions for his approval. My name is Chloe, I'm 29, and until about 6 hours ago, I was the lead brand strategist and fiancé of Liam. Liam is the founder of a tech startup in Austin called Vantage. He's one of those guys who uses words like synergy and disruption unironically while ordering a coffee. We'd been together for 5 years. I built his company's entire visual identity from the ground up, for free because we're building a future babe. I should have charged him hourly, because what happened tonight wasn't just a breakup. It was a performance. And let me tell you, the reviews are going to be mixed. It happened at the Vantage pre-IPO gala. This wasn't a lunch at a bistro. This was a black tie event on a rooftop overlooking the city, filled with angel investors, tech bloggers, and influencers holding champagne flutes that cost more than my first car. I was wearing an emerald green gown I'd bought specifically to match the company colors I had designed. I was standing near the front, beaming like a supportive partner, holding Liam's phone because his suit was too tailored for pockets. Liam got on stage. The spotlight hit him. He looked good, I'll give him that crisp. I own the room look, that narcissist's perfect in the mirror. He started his speech about trimming the fat and optimizing for success. To reach the next level, Liam said, his voice amplified across the silent rooftop, you have to be willing to cut ties with everything that holds you back. You have to shed the dead weight, the old versions of yourself. He paused for dramatic effect. He looked right at the investors. Then he turned and looked directly at me. And that requires total honesty, he continued, holding eye contact with me. Which is why tonight I'm announcing a pivot. Not just for Vantage but for my life. Chloe. The crowd turned. Hundreds of eyes. A camera drone buzzed overhead. I can't marry you, he said into the microphone. Crystal clear. Our trajectories aren't aligned anymore. I need a partner who pushes me. Not someone who's comfortable in the passenger seat. The wedding is off. The silence wasn't just quiet, it was a vacuum. You could hear the ice melting in the buckets. His inner circle, 3 guys named Jace, Topher, and Brett, who I had cooked dinner for 100 times, were standing by the bar. I saw Topher hold up his phone. He was live streaming. They were smirking. They knew. They were waiting for the content. They were waiting for me to scream, to cry, to throw my drink, to give Liam the crazy ex-girlfriend viral moment he could use to prove he was the victim of an emotional vampire. But here's the thing about being with a narcissist for 5 years. Eventually you just get tired. Something inside me snapped. But it wasn't a snap of anger. It was the snap of a tether breaking, setting me free. I looked at Liam on that stage, looking so pleased with his brave honesty, and all I felt was a cold gray nothingness. It's called the gray rock method, becoming as uninteresting and unresponsive as a rock, and I went full Boulder. I didn't cry. I didn't frown. I didn't gasp. I simply walked forward, placed his phone, which I was still holding, gently on the edge of the stage and nodded. Okay, I said. I didn't shout it. I just said it. Liam blinked. The smirk faltered. The microphone picked up his confusion. Chloe, I understood, I said, smoothing my dress. Good luck with the IPO, Liam. And then I turned around and walked through the crowd. I didn't run. I walked at a leisurely pace like I was browsing a museum. The crowd parted for me like the Red Sea, mostly because people were too stunned to move. I heard whispers. Is this a bit? Is this part of the presentation? I walked past Jace, Topher, and Brett. The smirk had slid off Topher's face. He looked disappointed, like he'd paid for a pay-per-view fight that ended in a hug. I gave them a polite, tight-lipped smile, the kind you give a toddler who just soiled themselves, and stepped into the elevator. The doors closed, shutting out the music and the murmurs. Only then, in the mirrored silence of the elevator, did I let out a breath. My hands weren't shaking. My heart was beating slow and steady. I checked my reflection. Makeup flawless. No mascara running. I looked like a queen who had just fired a jester. I called an Uber Black. I wasn't skimping tonight. My phone, which was in my clutch, started buzzing immediately. It was my best friend, Sarah. Did he just on the live stream? Tell me he didn't. I texted back. He did. I'm in a car. Meet me at the apartment. Bring the heavy-duty trash bags. And wine. When I got to the apartment we shared, a sleek modern loft that I paid half the rent for, I didn't collapse on the floor. I didn't weep into his pillows. I went into crisis management mode. This was my job after all. When a brand has a PR disaster, you don't cry. You audit the damage. I walked into the home office. Liam's desktop was there. A massive 3-monitor setup. Now Liam thinks he's a genius. He thinks he's the smartest guy in every room. But narcissists have a fatal flaw. They think everyone else is too stupid to catch them. He kept the password as Vantage01. Because he once told me changing passwords disrupts his flow state. Laziness disguised as genius. Predictable. I logged in. I wasn't looking for closure. I was looking for the why. You don't dump your fiancé of 5 years on stage at a corporate gala just for trajectories. You do it because you've got a backup plan, and you want to burn the bridge so brightly that the backup plan can see it from space. I opened his email. Nothing in the main inbox except congratulations from sycophants. Then I opened Slack. Liam used Slack for everything. He treated it like his personal diary. I scrolled past the general channel and found a private channel locked with a pin. But I knew the pin. It was his birthday. God, he's lazy. The channel was named #Project Phoenix. My stomach tightened, but I kept scrolling. The channel was just Liam and one other user. Sienna. The name sounded familiar. Then it clicked. Sienna Vance. The 22-year-old daughter of Marcus Vance, the lead angel investor who had just put $4 million into Vantage. The girl who I had seen hanging around the office interning for the last 3 months. The girl I had actually trained on the brand guidelines. I started reading the messages, and the cool girl facade I was maintaining started to crack. The rage began to heat up, bubbling under my skin. Liam, yesterday 11:42 p.m. Don't worry, babe. Tomorrow is the big purge. I'm going to make it clear I'm 100% committed to the new direction. Dad will love it. Sienna yesterday 11:45 p.m. Ugh, finally. I'm tired of seeing her pretend she owns the place. She's so basic. Does she suspect anything about the rebrand? Liam, yesterday 11:46 p.m. No clue. She thinks the Vantage 2.0 designs are just concepts. She doesn't know I already filed the trademark under my name only. She's out, you're in. We're going to be the power couple of Austin Tech. I froze. I reread that sentence. Filed the trademark under my name only. For the last 6 months, I had been working nights and weekends designing the entire interface for the new app. The logos, the user flow, the marketing deck, everything that investors were drooling over tonight. I had done it all. Liam couldn't draw a stick figure if his life depended on it. I quickly minimized Slack and opened the company legal folder. There it was. A PDF titled IP_assignments refile.pdf. He had forged my digital signature on a waiver, relinquishing all my rights to the designs I created, and transferred the intellectual property solely to Liam Sterling, CEO. He wasn't just dumping me. He was stealing my work. He was robbing me of potentially millions of dollars in equity right before the company went public. He had used me to build his empire, and now he was kicking me off the scaffold so he could pull Sienna up to stand next to him. And the public breakup? The humiliation? That wasn't just cruelty. It was strategy. If I reacted crazy, if I screamed, threatened him, or acted unstable on camera, he could use that footage to discredit me if I ever tried to claim my rights to the company. Oh, don't listen to her, she's the bitter, unhinged ex. You saw how she acted at the gala. He wanted to destroy my credibility so he could steal my intellectual property. I sat back in the chair, the glow of the monitors illuminating the dark room. The front door beeped. Sarah burst in, carrying a bottle of tequila and a baseball bat. I'm here. Who do I need to hit? I saw the live stream, the comments are ripping him apart, but half the tech bros are calling him a ruthless genius. She stopped when she saw me. I wasn't crying. I was staring at the screen with a look that could have curdled milk. Chloe. Sarah lowered the bat. Are you okay? You're scary quiet. I'm not sad, Sarah, I said, my voice sounding strange even to my own ears. Low. Dangerous. I'm profitable. What? He didn't just cheat on me with the investor's daughter, I said. turning the monitor so she could see the forged waiver. He stole my life's work. He thinks he's playing 4D chess. He thinks because I didn't make a scene I'm weak. I pulled out a portable hard drive from my purse. I plugged it into his computer. What are you doing? Sarah asked, moving closer. I'm making a backup, I said, my fingers flying across the keyboard. I'm downloading everything. The Slack logs, the emails, the original design files with the metadata proving I created them, the forgery. Everything. The download bar crept across the screen. 20%. 40%. He thinks I'm going to pack my boxes and disappear. I whispered. He thinks he's going to move Sienna in here next week and play CEO. 60%. 80%. My phone buzzed again. A text from Liam. Liam. You can come get your stuff tomorrow while I'm at the office. Leave the keys on the counter. Don't make this difficult, Chloe. It's business. I stared at the text. It's business. Oh, you have no idea, I muttered. The download hit 100%. I yanked the drive out. Suddenly the screen flickered. A notification popped up in the corner. Remote admin access detected. User Liam Mobile is attempting to wipe home_desktop. He was trying to wipe the computer remotely. He must have realized I might come home and check. He's deleting it, Sarah yelled. Let him, I said, standing up and dropping the hard drive into my bra. I got what I came for. The screens went black as the remote wipe initiated. I looked around the apartment. The furniture I picked out. The art I framed. The life I built. It was all tainted now. But I wasn't leaving with nothing. I was leaving with a digital nuclear bomb. Sarah, I said, walking toward the bedroom to grab my suitcase. Put the bat away. We don't need violence. We don't. Sarah looked disappointed. No, I said, grabbing a stack of legal pads and my laptop. Violence gets you a restraining order. What I have on this drive. This gets you a federal investigation. And the best part? He has no idea I know. I paused at the door. He wants a narrow escape? He wants to celebrate shedding dead weight? I think we should throw him a party. Or better yet, I think I should throw myself one. What kind of party? Sarah asked. I smiled, and for the first time that night it reached my eyes. A freedom party, I said. And we're going to fund it with the money he thinks he stole from me. If you think the hardest part of a breakup is the crying, you've never broken up with a narcissist who is trying to launch an initial public offering. The hardest part isn't the sadness. It's the acting. I woke up on Sarah's couch the morning after the gala with a stiff neck, and a phone that was vibrating so hard, I thought it was going to drill a hole through the coffee table. I didn't unlock it immediately. Instead, I made coffee. I drank it slowly. I took a shower. I put on a full face of, I'm not having a breakdown makeup. Then and only then did I look at the damage. Social media was a dumpster fire. Liam had been busy. While I was sleeping, his PR team had been spinning the narrative like a DJ at a frantic rave. There were articles on TechCrunch and Austin Business Journal. The headlines were nauseating. Vantage CEO Liam Sterling announces bold new direction at pre-IPO gala. Sacrifice for success. Why Sterling called off his engagement to focus on the future. And the comments. Oh, the comments. Bots and tech bros were flooding Liam's Instagram with fire emojis and grindset king praises. Meanwhile, my DMs were full of pity. Are you okay? You dodged a bullet. And a few nasty ones from accounts with 0 followers saying, he upgraded, sweetie. Move on. But the most important notification was an email from Liam himself. Subject. Logistics and handoff. Chloe, I'm glad you didn't cause a scene last night. Shows growth. I need you to sign the attached NDA and the separation of assets agreement by Friday. The legal team needs to clear the books for the IPO. I'm willing to offer you a severance of $5,000 for your contributions. Let's keep this civil. $5,000. For 5 years of work. For building his brand identity. For the UX/UI design that was currently valued at millions. The audacity wasn't just loud, it was deafening. I wanted to scream. I wanted to reply in all caps. I wanted to drive to his office and throw a brick through the glass wall of the conference room I designed. But that's what old Chloe would have done. That's what unstable Chloe, the character he was writing, would do. I took a deep breath, channeled my inner stone and typed a reply. Hi Liam. Thanks for the email. I understand. I'll review the documents and get them back to you. I'm staying with Sarah for now. I'll swing by the apartment later to grab the rest of my clothes when you're not there. Best, Chloe. No emotion. No fight. No questions about Sienna. 3 minutes later he replied. Perfect. Glad you're being reasonable. I knew you'd understand eventually that this is for the best. He bought it. He actually thought I was just accepting it. That's the thing about guys like Liam. They are so convinced of their own brilliance that they assume everyone else is just a supporting character in their biopic. He didn't think I was plotting. He thought I was obeying. Now it was time to weaponize that arrogance. 2 hours later, I was sitting in a glass-walled office in downtown Austin, but not at a tech company. I was at the firm of Holloway and Associates. Sitting across from me was Renee Holloway. Renee is the kind of lawyer who scares people just by adjusting her glasses. She's wearing a suit that costs more than my severance offer. I had hired her using the last of my personal savings, and it was worth every penny. We had the hard drive plugged into her secure system. Okay, Chloe, Renee said, scrolling through the files I had downloaded. This is extensive. I was the admin, I said. He never revoked my access. We have the forged IP assignment, Renee said, pointing to the screen. The metadata shows this PDF was created 3 days ago, but the signature is dated from 2019. That's fraud. Felony-level fraud. If we show this to the SEC, his IPO is dead in the water. He goes to jail, not to the bank. I know, I said. But I don't just want to stop the IPO. I want my share. And I want him to know exactly who took him down. We can get you your share, Renee said, a shark-like grin appearing. But there's something else here. Look at the company expenses. She pulled up a spreadsheet I hadn't looked at closely yet. It was the miscellaneous/marketing budget. See these charges? Renee asked. Tiffany and Company. 4 Seasons Bora Bora. The deposit for the Vantage launch party venue. Yeah, for the business, I said. Chloe, Renee looked at me with pity. The Tiffany charge is dated 2 weeks ago. Did you get a diamond necklace 2 weeks ago? No. And the Bora Bora trip is booked for next month. Under the names Liam Sterling and Sienna Vance, I felt the blood drain from my face. He wasn't just stealing my work. He was using the company funds that were artificially inflated by my unpaid labor, to pay for his honeymoon with the woman he left me for. He was expensing his affair. There's more, Renee continued. He's legally required to disclose all potential litigation risks to his investors before the IPO goes live in 3 weeks. If you file a lawsuit now, he has to disclose it. It will tank the stock price before it even launches. He needs your signature on that separation agreement to prove there's no conflict. So he's desperate, I said. He's on a deadline, Renee corrected. He needs you to sign away your rights within the next 48 hours, or his investors, including Sienna's daddy, will start asking questions about why the lead brand strategist hasn't signed off on the IP chain of title. I sat back, a plan forming in my mind. It was risky. It was petty. And it was absolutely perfect. He wants me to sign papers? I asked. I'll sign them, but not via email. I want to do it in person. Chloe, I advise against being in a room alone with him, Renee warned. Oh, we won't be alone, I smiled. I'm thinking of throwing a party. The narrow escape concept came to me while I was driving back to Sarah's. Liam had humiliated me in front of his crowd. He had used an audience to amplify his power. He thought public pressure would force me to fold. I was going to flip the script. I sent out the invites that afternoon. I blocked Liam and Sienna from seeing the event page, but I invited everyone else. His friends, who were really just opportunistic acquaintances, the lower-level employees at Vantage who actually liked me, the graphic design team I had managed, and a few key industry gossips. The invitation was elegant, minimalist, and intentionally vague. You are invited to the clearing. A celebration of new chapters, clean slates, and walking away. Saturday, 8 p.m. The Loft. Cocktails and closures. To the outside world it looked like a moving-on party. A goodbye Austin bash. It looked like I was packing up and leaving town just like Liam wanted. I knew word would get back to him. Austin is a small town masquerading as a big city. Sure enough, around 6 p.m. my phone rang. It was Liam. I let it ring 3 times before answering. Hello. Chloe. He sounded annoyed. What is this I hear about a party? You're throwing a rager at our apartment. It's my apartment too, Liam, I said, keeping my voice flat and tired. My name is on the lease until the end of the month. And it's not a rager. I'm leaving, Liam. There was a pause. You're leaving Austin? Yeah. I lied smoothly. I can't be in the same city as you and her. It's too much. I'm moving back to Chicago. The party is just to sell some furniture and say goodbye to our friends. I want to be out of your hair before the IPO. I could practically hear his ego inflating through the phone. He had won. He had driven me out. I was retreating. Well, he said, his tone softening into that patronizing faux kindness. I think that's a really healthy decision, Chloe. Chicago is good for you. You fit in better there. Thanks, I said, gripping the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. Listen about those papers. I have them printed. Since I'm leaving Sunday morning, can you swing by the party Saturday night to sign them? I want to get this over with so I can just go. I don't know if I should come to your party. He hesitated. Might be awkward. Please, Liam, I added a little tremble to my voice. I don't want to drag this out with lawyers. Just come, pick up the keys, I'll sign the NDA and you never have to see me again. You can even bring the papers yourself to make sure I don't change anything. The bait was set. I don't want to drag this out with lawyers. That was music to his ears. Fine, he said. I'll swing by around 9 o'clock. But I'm not staying. Wouldn't dream of it, I said. The next 2 days were a blur of gray rocking and covert ops. I went to the apartment while Liam was at work. I packed my clothes but I didn't move them out. I staged the apartment to look like a woman in defeat. Boxes everywhere. Pictures of us turned face down on the tables. It looked pathetic. It was perfect set dressing. But while I was packing, I was also printing. I printed the Slack logs where he called his investors dumb money and mocked Sienna's intelligence. She's useful, but God, she talks too much. I printed the expense reports for the jewelry and the trips. I printed the forensic timeline of my design work versus his forged dates. I didn't put them on a poster board. That would be tacky. I framed them. I bought sleek black gallery frames. I treated them like art. The plan was simple. The party would be in full swing. The apartment would be dimly lit, chic, moody. The art would be covered with silk cloths, like a museum unveiling. I would tell everyone it was a showcase of my final design projects. Before I quit the industry, Liam would arrive to get his signature. And then we would have the unveiling. On Saturday morning, the day of the party, I got a text from Sienna. The audacity of this girl was actually impressive. Sienna. Hey, I heard you're moving. Total bummer, but props for the best. Smiley face. Liam is gonna swing by later to get the papers. Just wanted to say no hard feelings. We're all women supporting women here. Women supporting women. While she slept with my fiancé and let him steal my intellectual property. I didn't reply. I just screenshotted it and sent it to the printer. Add it to the gallery. By 7 p.m. Sarah and I were ready. I was wearing a dress that was the complete opposite of the green gown. It was a sharp black tuxedo dress. Structured. Severe. Powerful. You look like you're about to assassinate someone, Sarah said, adjusting a frame on the wall. I am, I said, checking my lipstick in the mirror. Character assassination. It's entirely legal. The guests started arriving at 8 o'clock. The vibe was weird at first. People didn't know what to say. They expected a crying, broken woman. They walked in and saw me looking calm, handing out champagne with cool jazz playing. So you're really leaving? Asked Brett, one of Liam's cronies who had shown up just to spy. Oh, Brett, I smiled, patting his arm. I'm going exactly where I need to go. Have a crab cake. The apartment filled up. About 50 people. Former coworkers, industry contacts, even a few of the investors who I had befriended over the years, and who Liam hadn't invited to the gala because he thought they were low tier. At 8:55 p.m. the buzz in the room changed. The front door opened. Liam walked in. He wasn't alone. He brought Sienna. Of course he did. He wanted to rub it in. He wanted to show her the conquest. They looked like a catalog couple. He was in a suit. She was in a silver dress that looked expensive but ill-fitting. The room went quiet. People stared. This was the drama they came for. Liam scanned the room, saw the boxes, saw the people, and then locked eyes with me. He gave me a nod, the benevolent king acknowledging the peasant. I walked over to them. The crowd parted. Liam, I said, keeping my voice low. And Sienna. I didn't know you were coming. I didn't want to wait in the car, Sienna said, looking around the loft with a critical eye. So this is the place? It's cute. A little dated. It has good bones, I said. Like a good business. It just needs the right foundation. Right. Liam checked his watch. Look, Chloe, let's make this quick. You have the papers. I do, I said. They're right over here on the table. But before I sign, I turned to the room. I clapped my hands twice. The music cut out. Sarah, standing by the stereo, gave me a thumbs up. Everyone. I projected my voice. Hi. Thank you for coming. I know this is a bit unusual. A narrow escape party. Liam frowned. I thought you said it was a going away party. It is. I looked at him. I'm going away from a lie. But before I go, Liam needs me to sign some intellectual property waivers so he can launch his IPO next week. He's very worried about the legality of his new brand. Liam stiffened. Chloe, we can do this in private. But we're all friends here. I beamed. And since I spent 5 years building Vantage, I thought I'd share one final presentation. A retrospective of the work. I gestured to the covered frames lining the main wall. You see, Liam thinks that to succeed you have to shed dead weight, I said, quoting his speech from the gala. And he's right. So I'd like to show you exactly what that dead weight looks like. I walked to the first covered frame. Liam took a step forward. Chloe, don't. Don't what? I asked innocently. It's just art, Liam. I gripped the silk cloth covering the first frame. The setup was complete. Now came the kill. I looked at Liam, whose face was shifting from arrogance to genuine fear for the first time in 5 years. Shall we? I asked. And then I ripped the cloth down. The sound of silk sliding off glass was the only noise in the room. I had just unveiled the first frame. It wasn't a painting. It wasn't a photo of a sunset. It was a blown-up high-resolution screenshot of the IP assignment waiver. The one Liam had forged. Next to it, in stark contrast, was a forensic metadata report Renee had compiled. It showed 2 things clearly. The date the document was created 3 days ago, and the date of the signature, 2019. What is this? Liam laughed, but it was a nervous, dry sound. Chloe, this is pathetic. You printed out paperwork? This is your big reveal. Look closer, Liam, I said, my voice pleasant and helpful like a tour guide at a murder scene. That's a felony. Forgery of legal documents to defraud investors. I believe the SEC frowns on that. The room rippled. I saw Marcus Vance, Sienna's dad, the lead investor, squinting from the back near the kitchen. I hadn't invited him directly, but I knew he tracked Sienna's location on her phone. He had shown up to see what his investment was doing. This is a fake, Liam announced to the room, puffing out his chest. She's unstable. She's trying to sabotage the launch because she's bitter. Am I? I moved to the next frame. Let's see what Exhibit B says. I pulled the second cloth. This one was the Slack log from the channel #Project Phoenix. I had highlighted specific messages in neon yellow. Liam, Tuesday 9:14 a.m. Just got off the phone with Vance. Guy is a dinosaur. He has no idea the proprietary algo is just a reskin of the old code. Dumb money is the best money. Liam, Tuesday 9:16 a.m. Once the IPO hits and the lockup period ends, I'm dumping 40% of my shares. Let the retail idiots hold the bag. The silence in the room broke. A few of the tech guys, friends of Liam, audibly gasped. Calling your lead investor dumb money and admitting to a pump and dump scheme in writing? That's not just a PR nightmare. That's prison time. I looked at the back of the room. Marcus Vance wasn't squinting anymore. His face was a terrifying shade of purple. That's out of context. Liam stammered, sweat starting to bead on his forehead. He looked at Sienna for support. Babe, you know how we joke. It's just dev talk. Is it? I asked. Speaking of jokes. I walked to the third frame. This was the one I had printed specifically for Sienna. Sienna, I said gently, you might want to come closer for this one. Sienna looked at me, her eyes narrowing. She was still holding Liam's hand, playing the loyal power couple. I don't need to see your little collage, Chloe. Oh, I think you do, I said. I ripped the cloth down. This frame contained the messages between Liam and his fraternity brother, Jace, from 2 months ago. Jace, so are you actually into the intern? Or is this just business? Liam. Bro, have you heard her talk? She thinks scalability is a type of reptile. But her dad is Marcus Vance. I need the check. Once the check clears and the ring is on her finger, I've got the board seat secured. She's a necessary evil. A very loud, very expensive prop. The air left the room. Sienna froze. The cool girl smirk vanished. She read the words, then read them again. A necessary evil. A prop. Liam looked at the frame, then at Sienna. Sienna, baby, that's doctored. I never wrote that. She hacked my account. She wrote those herself. Actually, said a voice from the hallway. We all turned. Renee, my lawyer, stepped into the loft. She looked immaculate in a navy suit, holding a briefcase. Those logs were authenticated by a third-party forensic data firm this morning, Renee said, her voice cutting through the tension like a laser. We also have the IP logs showing Mr. Sterling accessing the accounts from his device at those specific times. It's ironclad. Liam looked like a trapped rat. He turned back to me, his eyes wild. You set me up. You lured me here. I invited you, I corrected. You came because you wanted me to sign away my rights. Speaking of which, I walked over to the table where he had placed the NDA and the separation agreement. I picked up a pen. You need these signed for the IPO, right? I asked. Yes, Liam breathed, seeing a flicker of hope. Yes, just sign them, Chloe. We can settle the rest later. Just sign the papers. Okay, I said. I held the pen over the paper. The room held its breath. Then I flipped the pen around, uncapped a thick red permanent marker from my pocket, and wrote void in massive letters across the entire page. There, I smiled. Signed. You. Liam stepped toward me, his hand raised. Don't. A deep voice boomed. Marcus Vance pushed his way through the crowd. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at Liam with the kind of cold corporate hatred that ends careers. Marcus, Liam's voice cracked. Sir, this is a disgruntled ex. It's a smear campaign. I recognize those Slack timestamps, Marcus said, his voice low and dangerous, and I recognize the reskin of the code. My auditors had questions about that last week. You told me it was a glitch. It was. And my daughter, Marcus turned to Sienna, who was standing there trembling, tears streaming down her face, ruining her perfect makeup. Is she a prop, Liam? No, I love her. Liam reached for Sienna. Sienna recoiled. She looked at the frame again. She thinks scalability is a type of reptile. And then she looked at Liam. You used me, she whispered. No, babe. Sienna didn't scream. She didn't throw a drink. She did something much more damaging. She reached into her clutch, pulled out her phone and opened Instagram. She was live. Hey guys, she said into the camera, her voice shaking but loud. Just wanted to let everyone know that the Vantage IPO is a scam. And Liam Sterling is a fraud who steals from women. She panned the camera to the framed receipts on the wall. The viewer count on her screen skyrocketed. Sienna, stop. Liam lunged for the phone. 2 guys, investors who had realized their money was on fire, stepped in front of him, blocking his path. I think you should leave, Liam, I said, leaning against the wall, sipping my champagne. Before the police get here. Renee called them about 10 minutes ago regarding the embezzlement. Embezzlement? Liam paled. The Tiffany necklace. I pointed to a smaller frame I hadn't even unveiled yet. Charged to the server maintenance account. That's corporate theft, Liam. Liam looked around the room. The friends who had live-streamed my humiliation at the gala were now recording him. The investors were on the phone with their lawyers. His fiancée was live-streaming his funeral. He looked at me one last time. There was no arrogance left. Just fear. You ruined my life, he hissed. No, Liam, I said, finally dropping the smile and letting him see the steel underneath. I just audited it. He turned and ran out the door. The moment the door closed, the room didn't stay quiet. It erupted. It wasn't a party anymore. It was a revolution. People were high-fiving me. Sarah poured me a fresh glass of wine. Marcus Vance came over looking tired and old. I apologize, he said stiffly, for everything. My lawyers will be in touch about purchasing your IP rights properly. If there's a company left to salvage, you'll be paid what you're worth. Thank you, Marcus, I said. But I think I'm done with Vantage. You can keep the logo. Consider it a parting gift. I walked into the coffee shop, the same one where Liam used to make me wait while he networked, and ordered a latte. It had been 6 months. Chloe, the barista smiled. Saw the article in Forbes. Congrats. Thanks, Mike. I smiled, tapping my card. I took my coffee and sat by the window. I opened my laptop. The logo on my screen didn't say Vantage. It said Grey Rock Strategy Group. After the party, my life didn't just go back to normal. It exploded, but in the good way. The story of the receipts party went viral locally, then nationally. People didn't just love the drama. They loved the competence. I started my own crisis management and branding firm. My niche: helping founders and creatives protect their work from predatory partners. I was fully booked for the next year. As for Liam, the IPO never happened. The SEC investigation triggered a freeze on all Vantage assets. The fraud charges stuck. He didn't go to prison. Rich white guys rarely do for a first offense, but he got probation, a massive fine that wiped out his savings, and a lifetime ban from serving as a director of a public company. Last I heard, he was working as a consultant for a crypto scam in Miami, living in a studio apartment with 3 roommates. Sienna actually surprised me. She didn't go into hiding. She leaned into the humiliation. She started a podcast called The Prop Speaks, about toxic relationships in the tech world. We aren't friends. Let's not get crazy. But she sent me a gift basket when my agency launched. It contained a very nice bottle of wine and a note that just said, "Thanks for the wake-up call." My phone buzzed. It was a text from a new client. "Hi, Chloe. I heard you're the best at handling difficult exits. My business partner is trying to push me out. Can we talk?" I took a sip of my coffee. It tasted better than anything I had drank in 5 years. Tasted like freedom. I typed back, "I'm listening. Let's see your receipts." The wedding was off. The IPO was dead. But my life? It was just opening for trading. And business was booming. Have you ever had to pull out the receipts to protect yourself? Or have you ever dated someone who tried to steal your shine? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed seeing a narcissist get absolutely wrecked by the truth, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss the next story.